No, right. Well, I'm hoping that we've got waiting eagerly for us on the other end of a camera, Paul Davies from who's been highly involved in all of this work, the international partner for the Open Road project from Embaixadores da Alegria.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes, I'm here since this morning, very early.
So I want to welcome Paul Davies, MBE. He's the founder and CEO of Embaixadores. I think I'm right in thinking it's the only inclusive samba school in Rio de Janeiro. And since 2008, Embaixadores have worked with disabled people to participate in the Rio Carnival, providing both social and emotional inclusion to a huge unheard section of Brazilian society.
Well, yes, I founded Embaixadores in 2006. So we're coming up to, I think it's our, 17th year as one of the inclusive samba schools in the world now. Obviously, we've been working with Chris and Frankie and Yetta, and it's nice to see Yetta and Sarah there, and nice to see Giles as well. All these people that we've worked together over the last 10, 11 years. I've got a presentation that I'd like to start with. What I thought I'd just quickly tell you about what Carnival is in Brazil and how important it is to Brazilian culture. And different to the UK, we have more than just the street carnivals, which is on the right. We have the famous Sambadrome, where all the big samba schools go and parade. This year, hopefully it will be in April. It's been remarked from March to April due to the pandemic, of course. And it's very big business. And I think I'll show you a little bit about that so you can get an idea on how important Carnival is to Brazil and obviously to the major cities like Rio de Janeiro. So like I mentioned, we have the Sambadrome, where 54 samba schools spend like about 6 to 7 months putting together their samba themes. And then we have the Bloco, or street carnivals, which is very similar to the ones we have in the UK. And again, it brings in a lot of money to Rio City, but it's not very inclusive. And if we go down straight to the support, it gives you some idea of how much the samba schools and blocos receive every year from the state, federal, and municipal governments, which I guess is similar in many ways to what we have in the UK through all the support you get there. But it's a lot of money. We're talking about, if you go to the municipal support, there's almost £1 million given out to the 12 samba schools. So that's like almost £1 million for a samba school to be in a parade for 1 hour and 10 minutes, which is a lot of money when you think about it. And if we just go through to give you an idea really of how the samba schools work, there are 12 samba schools in a special league, which they usually go out on the Sunday night and the Monday night. It's like the Premier League, I guess, for the football. But it's all very sophisticated. Each samba school has something like 3,500 participants and 6 floats that are all highly decorated. And they all tell a theme that's been developed 6 months before Carnival. So every little detail and item that's in the parade gets points, and then according to how many points you get, you can win the Carnival parade, which is more of a prestigious thing than you making any money. But if you look down here at the very bottom, Carnival in 2019, our last Carnival was 2020, £580 million was spent in Rio de Janeiro city alone. That I don't think there's any cultural event or any other even sporting event that has so much money coming into a town in just basically 7 days. And we have like 250,000 people work in the tourist area, and about 40,000 people work directly in the samba schools. And you think, well, that's fantastic. It includes a lot of people, but does it? It's the greatest. It's known as the greatest show on earth. But it's not for those that have some form of disability. in fact, none of the samba schools at the moment have more than one special area for disabled people to be in the parade. So out of all the, I'm not very good at maths, but the premier samba schools, there are 12. And if you multiply that by 3,000 participants in each, that's 36,000 people that will be in the parade on Sunday and Monday night. And out of those 36,000 people, you won't get more than 100 people with some form of disability able to parade. So in 2006, 2004 actually, I had this idea of creating a small group of people with some form of disability to be in one samba school. And then I had some problem with my back where I had a slipped disc. I thought, well, you know, there should be more than just one block. So I thought, well, I'll develop a samba school for those with some form of disability. But, you know, we can go into that in a while. In Brazil, there are 45 million Brazilians that have some form of physical disability. So that's a lot of people that are excluded from the majority of cultural projects within the country. If we include people with some form of intellectual disability, you know, we're talking about almost 80 million people in the country that have some form of disability. And the major cultural event is, of course, the samba parades, and everybody wants to be in that, but they're excluded. Our school, Embaixadores da Alegria, which literally translates as the ambassadors of happiness, was developed in the beginning of 2004 and was officially launched as a samba school in 2006. And it took us 2 years to convince the local governments and also the Samba League, which are run by sort of local betting lords and not very nice people, to convince them that we needed some sort of space and time within the carnival. So again, a quick history of Embaixadores. Our first parade was in 2008, and it was sort of like in the second division Samba League with 700 people. So we started off with 700 people from 5 different associations, all connected with some form of disability. In those days, it was physical disability rather than including everybody, and NGOs. So it was kind of difficult to convince people to parade with us because nobody knew who we were. It was the beginning of the project. But by 2020, we've gone from 700 people to 1,800 participants from 96 associations and NGOs. And of course, from the very beginning, we've had a very close contact with Chris and Frankie, Blue Touch Paper then, Open Road Carnival, New Carnival Company, etc., etc. And we haven't, as you've noticed, we haven't received any governmental financial support really at all. Unlike the UK, where you can apply to amazing grants and sponsorship, unfortunately in Brazil, we have no opportunities whatsoever. So it's a question of knocking on the door and asking for help. Just to give you some numbers, this shows you how we've grown over the couple of years. From 2008, from 700 people to 2020, it's 1,600, but I hadn't included the drum section, which is the pulsating heart of any samba school, of course. And our drum section is made up of 100% ladies. And of course, today is the International Women's Day. So congratulations for that, girls. I know it's not very promising what's happening in the world, but you know. So we have a drum section. I'll get onto that in a minute. But this gives you an idea of what's happened to Embaixadores and what we've done over the last 16, 17 years. 22,000 participants in 13 years. This is done just over a year ago. 180 carnival workshops, 1,300 students. The first carnival float that was completely accessible. And I've brought you a drawing of our first ever carnival float, which was an amazing project. We were able to get some money. And the project, the actual size of the float was 2 double-deckers wide by 2 double-deckers long. And we put the special ramp on the front where wheelchair users could zip up and down to dance when the actual float was stopping during the actual parade. And along the edge, we had in Braille the name of the theme. And this particular year was the history of the smile, of the laugh. So that was an interesting, and you can have a look here at some of the photographs of the float being made. You can see, get an idea of how big. And all the material that we used on this float is actually all recycled. We went around all the samba schools and asked for donations. And the big cape on the left, which is the Brazilian flag, was mainly made up of Coke bottles and fizzy drink bottles. But it started off as as a little chassis on the left there on the bottom, and this was the actual float during the parade. So it was, I think it was like one of the most amazing things that has happened in Carnival history, to actually have a fully accessible float. Unfortunately, like in many Carnival events, things do happen to go wrong. And we had some special perfume that was going to be sprayed out so people could actually smell the car arriving, the float arriving. But unfortunately, I think the nozzle got bunged up, so it didn't work. Some more information. We were the first ever samba school to provide space and care for those with guide dogs. Guide dogs in Rio and Brazil are very few to find. And we had 2 people that needed guide dogs. And it was very difficult to convince the samba people that it was important for them to be in the parade with their guide dog. And of course, Embaixadores is not only a samba school. We do a lot of other events through the year. We do a lot of carnival workshops, musicals, theatre pieces, etc., etc. And this is Valeria with her guide dog. Going through the actual guide dog didn't look very excited about going through the samba parade while we were there, but it's very successful and very happy to be in the parade with her. Despite Embaixadores being basically focused on those with some form of disability, our drum section, Yetta, I think, came over to us in Brazil, and she met our drum master and met a couple of the people. And it's a very interesting project because it's 100% ladies, except for the drum leader, who's a guy. But it's an interesting project, a social project, where I'd think maybe around about 70% are women that have suffered some form of sexual or abusive behavior. And through music, being in samba school and this particular project, they were able to obviously escape such terrible situations that they've been through. We even have women that have had some time in prison, usually for drugs, etc., etc. But it's great to have the girls with us during the parade, of course. And as you can see, we started off in 2008, our first parade. We had 60 ladies in the drum section, and this went up to 300 and 220. So we've got a lot of great ladies there. And it was Embaixadores through the years. It was also the first ever samba school for those with disabilities to use sign language. We have a huge group of over 120 people that have, I'm not sure what the technical term is, but hearing disability. I'm not quite sure what the actual correct way of saying that. But over 120 people will be in the parade, and we have people along the course of the parade, which is like just under 800 meters long. People with sign language, so they can actually sing and participate more during the parade. And I think one of my favorite groups is the groups that has the small people. Again, I apologize if I'm not using the correct terminology, but we have over 50 people with, is it dwarfism? Again, I'm sorry, I apologize, that in our parade. And it took me over 2 years to actually persuade them to be in our parade, because they'd suffered a lot of social abuse. They've been sort of on TV programs, usually dressed up as clowns. So they've been at the brunt of horrible things. And it took me 2 years to persuade them to be in the parade and to say that, you know, they were there for, you know, for their own space and their own time. And we weren't there to make fun of anybody, just to give them an opportunity. All the guys from the new Carnival company have all met Fernanda, who is with Down syndrome. She's a drum queen, and she's also a TV, well, I think one of the few TV reporters in South America with Down syndrome. And as you can see, all our ladies in the back there from the drum section, all playing away. And also, we were the first ever samba school with a wheelchair user as the flag bearer, who's the flag bearer and master of ceremonies are perhaps one of the most important people in the samba school, because they're carrying the flag of the school. So they represent the flag, they represent the school. And it was great fun teaching all the guys in the Isle of Wight the importance of that. One of our second couple, our flag bearer, she was blind, so it was quite interesting to see how she's going to cope with the flag moving around, but she did very, very well. And at the very beginning of the samba school, it's called the Front Commission, where they present the school, and it's a mixed dance group. And again, it was the first ever samba school that had a mixed dance group. The vast majority are wheelchair users. And in the bottom right, you can see we did this really strange experiment where we tried special costumes that were inflatable, that sort of were inflated up and down during the parade. One of them was actually, unfortunately, got a hole in it, so it made rude noises while it was being inflated all the way up and down the Sambadrome. But again, it shows you, we tried to be all inclusive as possible, including, and we give them the samba song. Every year there's a samba song, which is according to the theme. So they would do their choreography according to that song. And then during the year, I mean, we haven't over the last couple of years due to the pandemic and also lack of funds, but in our heyday, we had a lot of workshops. And this guy, Eduardo, you can see him with his mother. And this is like in the first week of our first ever workshops. And he didn't even really have much communication, even with his mother, and none whatsoever at all with anybody else that was participating. And then on the right, you can see after less than a year, his first ever parade. He was the third flag bearer, master of ceremonies. So, you know, we sort of like realized when we started off with our workshops that we'd like to try and train and show people how to do things for Carnival, like making costumes and stuff like that. But we found out that the most important part of the actual experience in the workshop was how we were breaking down the barriers between families that weren't speaking to each other. Mothers started speaking with other mothers who were participating in the workshop. And it also gave a lot of the people with disabilities confidence that they didn't have before. So in fact, Eduardo and Stephanie, they became boyfriend and girlfriend, which if you look on the left on the top there, when he's in his the workshop, he wasn't really sort of like into ladies at that time. But at the bottom right, you can see, you know, his face has completely changed, his posture has changed, and that's after 7 months of workshops. And I think one of the most touching moments that I've ever had in Carnival was in our parade. I've forgotten, unfortunately, the guy's name, but this guy came to one of our famous bean parties, which Chris and Frankie know all about, which is a very traditional thing to have during Carnival. It's a big bean dish where everybody goes and has black beans, a lot of beer and caipirinhas. And just before one Carnival in 2011, This guy's mother, who's on the right in the top left-hand photograph, came up to me and said, do you have any vacancies left? And I said, well, unfortunately, we don't. And she said, well, you know, my son's been wanting to be an Embaixadores for quite some time. And I said, well, okay, I'll see if I can get some more costumes and shirts. And we were able to. And she said to me, well, he has a couple of challenges to move from A to B. And I saw him in the bean party. I thought, my goodness, you know, we've got helpers and doctors and medics along the carnival parade, but do you think he'll be okay? And she said, yeah, we'll just move along all by ourselves. And it was amazing to see him starting off all by himself, going the 800 meters, and he managed it all by himself. And it's inspirational to see that the 15, 20 minutes that people have during the parade makes such a difference. So, as I mentioned before at the very beginning, unfortunately, it's the world's largest, it is the greatest show on earth. It brings in a lot of money to Rio and Salvador, the other places that have carnival, but it's not inclusive, sorry. And it's very difficult to get to the Sambadrome. If it rains, most people are unable to get there because the rain can be like up to almost 4 to 5 inches in rain. So obviously people that have some form of physical disability, wheelchair users, anybody that has some form of moving disability is unable to get to the Sambadrome. And also the tube station, the nearest tube station is almost half a mile away. So it involves a lot of walking. Once you're in the Sambadrome, it's okay, but it's very, very, very challenging to actually arrive there. But once they get there, it's actually amazing because we've had torrential rainstorms. And I think when I arrive there, we usually go out in the parade at 7:30 at night, and I get there at 4. To start organizing things, and we think, well, nobody's gonna arrive, but it's amazing, and it's really heartwarming to see that everybody does their utmost best to arrive there. So it's still not accessible, but I think through Embaixadores da Alegria, we've given people the opportunity to spend at least an hour and a half together. And have people included in such an important cultural event as Carnival. And these are perhaps, as it's the International Women's Day, these two women are fantastic. We have Fernanda, who's our drum queen. She's also an actress, television reporter, and also an athlete. And also Viviane, she's also an actress and bank executive. And she's also like one of the lead dancers in Embaixadores da Alegria. And it's amazing to see them, how they've also evolved. They now have their space within Embaixadores to be like everybody else. And then here, just a couple of photographs of the guys in the parade. Once again, Eduardo on the bottom right there, who didn't speak to his mother before in the first ever workshop. And there he is, smiling in the parade. I get, very emotional when I see these things because it's so nice to see people having a chance and being included. Again, more photographs of our guys going through the parade. A lot of them have such huge challenges to arrive there, such huge challenges in life. So it's great to see them all together, and hopefully if we don't get another variant of COVID in the next 2 months, we'll be at the Samba Parade on the 30th of April, opening up the Champions Parade with 1,600 people. So that's us. I hope you enjoyed a bit of seeing who we are, what we've been doing in Rio. And it's been such a pleasure working with Chris and Frankie, who, are pioneers in the UK and Europe in this area. So we've had a great pleasure with them. Yetta, of course, with her drum group, and wonderful Sarah and Giles as well. So thank you, guys. That's my presentation. Open to any questions. Hopefully I can hear you.
Swap. I'm actually going to go over to Marina. Paul, are you still there?
Yes, of course, I'm still here.
Fantastic. Lovely to see you again.
Yes,
I
you
had the
too.
pleasure of meeting some of the team in the Isle of Wight. And Marina from Callaloo has some questions or a question.
Yeah, sure, of course.
How long is the route, please, Paul?
Sorry?
How long is the route?
I think it's about it's just under 800 meters. I'm sorry, I have no idea what that is in feet because I'm not good at working these things out.
How long in time?
Oh, in time, sorry. We are given 52 minutes exactly to make sure that we start and finish and make sure we get everybody through the whole samba parade.
So what happens if people can't make the whole carnival? Are there places where they can?
Well, we've actually we've been doing the parade now. It will be our 14th year in April, so we know exactly through experience how many people we can have in the parade, how much time everybody needs to cross the 800 meters within the 52 minutes. Because the vast majority nowadays are the same people that have been with us now for the last 4 or 5 years. So the carers and the family that are looking after and participating in the parade with everybody, they know exactly that their son or their daughter or husband or whoever has a disability is able to go across the 800 meters. If by any chance, and thank goodness we've never had this before, but if there is any person that has some sort of problem or challenge that they can't go, we have over 20 medics that participate in the parade as well, that are along the whole sides as the school parades. We have 10 people on each side specifically for any kind of problem. And that obviously does include the sign language people and other people. But as I said, luckily, thank goodness, we've never had any problem with anybody having any problem, which has been quite challenging because we've had people with severe autism that it's taken us like 4 or 5 months to introduce the project because it's a lot of noise, it's a lot of light. But thank God, you know, we never had any problems at all.
That's brilliant. Paul, thank you so much. It's so impressive. The statistics alone of the numbers of people, the size of it, it's immense. And thank you for all the work you've been doing.
Well, it's been a complete pleasure for me. Well, not all the time, because quite often we have to run after sponsorship. I mean, the good news is after 17 years, next year we will officially receive money from the mayor's office in Rio after 17 years of knocking on doors. It's not a lot. It's £7,000 to put everybody out in the parade, but you know, it's. I think the challenge is quite often is huge, and sometimes you get a bit depressed about not being able to have the amount of money that you'd like to have to put people into costumes, etc. And sometimes I think you get a bit maybe depressed about it. But when you get lots of emails, well, not emails nowadays, but like WhatsApp messages and saying, "Oh, Uncle Paul, are we having the parade next year?" And you think, well, you know, we can't let these people down because quite often it's the only cultural and social activity that they've had. So it's a challenge, but it's a wonderful challenge. You know, it's a shame we can't have more work with you guys in the UK. It's a shame that we haven't been able to see Chris and Frank here last year in Brighton. Hopefully with the pandemic, it's maybe coming to an end and, you know, coronavirus will become like a cold or whatever, but it's a shame. I mean, Carnival is participation. It's everybody together. It's not bits of paper. It's, you know, and we miss that. I'm sure you guys miss it too.
Yeah, we need it. Thank you so much, Paul.
You're welcome.